We're recording. You're listening to the Tune Up and Jam podcast. Ready? Go.
Welcome back. This is episode number 8.
Tune Up and Jam.
All right. Tune up, turn up, get down, and start jamming once again. Hello and namaskar.
Namaskar to you.
Namaskar. Do you know that one?
No, I don't know that one.
It's for our friends out there in Bangladesh.
Nice.
Yeah, because I know we have some little extended family out there.
We know anybody out there?
Someone, 1 or 2 people out there. So anyway, my name is Rich. This is the Tune Up and Jam podcast, episode, what are we on, 8, 7?
I think we're on
21?
8. I think we're on
42,
8.
something like that.
No, actually, it could be on 9. Actually, who knows? I'll correct myself. But
I've had so many. Anyway, my name is Rich. To my left, we have Chris, as always. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. And to my right, Francito.
Don't wash my car.
Don't wash my car. And back once again, we are so happy to have as a member, full-time, hopefully, as the part of the Diggem Crew. You will be here from here on, probably our favorite guest so far. Yeah, it is Alexa Merrill. How are you, Alexa?
I am so good. So excited to be back here.
Even when we're not here, you're going to be here.
Yeah, I'll just be like sitting here, recording myself, talking to myself.
Exactly.
Like, hey, guys, this is what I learned today.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It is nice.
Very self-indulgent like that.
Cool. You'll keep it going.
So, let's, Alexa, go for it. I'm done here.
All right. So basically, no.
So this is brand new. Here we are with a new thing going on here. So what are we going to talk about today? I wanted to say that the calendar says that it's autumn, but the weather seems to not want to agree with this, and I'm getting annoyed with it.
I played a show yesterday outside. I have never sweat more in my life. I was like trying to be glamorous and like, oh, I'm cool. No,
Didn't work.
Like it was just not happening.
Right in the middle of the day.
It was 12 to 2. I was under like an awning, but still I was outside.
Were you in the valley or were you at least close to the beach?
I was in Long Beach, Fountain Valley area.
It's still hot.
But it was hot, and
I'm tired of it.
But I love it. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. It's supposed to, one of the things, the only time I ever miss living back east is like this time of year when it's like October and the weather's supposed to get like nice and cool and the leaves change. And here it's 150 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of it.
And you got to kind of look at that in terms, based on your region or your locale, the outdoor gig is a funny thing because you can have all sorts of different experiences from I need a tent because it's 150 degrees out and fans to I actually played a gig in February in northern Michigan on snow, outdoors. And it's just another situation where, like, I don't know that we planned this that well. It's 20 degrees.
My fingers freeze up in the cold like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it really
I always
affects
think about
your instrument.
Times Square on Rockin' New Year's Eve. Like, you'll notice they have a glove on their strumming hand because they're so free. And it's like, you're not playing chords right now. That's not, I can't even bend my fingers right now.
I remember playing one gig outside back in Pennsylvania on New Year's Eve, and it must have been 3 degrees outside, and it was the worst thing. It was the worst decision we ever made because not only are you playing for those, 2-3 songs or whatever it is, because it was just like a quick little outside thing. It was too cold for everybody, but there's setup time too. You still got to go outside and set things up. You're out there setting up your drums or the guitar amps or whatever, and you're just freezing trying to show. I know, it's such a sad story.
Well, even keeping an instrument in tune.
The world's smallest violin. That's true.
Keeping an instrument in tune in those extreme conditions they're not engineered for 20 degrees or for 110 degrees.
Right, drum heads, none of that stuff is really is not worth for 3 degrees outside. So anyway. Enough complaining about that.
You done, Rich?
Yeah.
You done? All right.
I'm done. I'm done with my complaining. Francis, you take it over because I'll just keep complaining if we can give me the mic.
Let's see. So what should we talk about here?
Go on.
I was going to say, I'm not like well versed on it. I should do more research, but the Apple Music, Spotify / like artists like Taylor Swift that are pulling their stuff from that. I thought that was super interesting. Wanted to see what your guys' perspective was because I have an interesting view, I think. Probably different than most artists would say.
Well, we're going to put you on the spot. Go for it.
I personally, I put a lot of time into my EPs that are on iTunes, but the goal in putting it on there was never to make money. The goal was trying to get people to listen to it so that eventually I would have a fan base and be able to tour. And in this day and age, the only way you're going to make money in the music industry is touring and merchandise and sponsorship and things like that. There isn't labels. You're going to get an advance, but there's these 360 deals where you're going to have to pay for it at some point, and it's just like to make the money, that's the canvas. You got to like put the art form out there and make sure that people know who you are as an artist, especially if you're going to take it seriously enough to make an entire album, LP, EP, whatever you're doing. Then make that a cohesive and just tie that into like an art piece, and you wouldn't sell that. I mean, I know there's artists out there that are probably like, oh, I sell my art all the time, but
So the
I don't know,
exposure.
like the Taylor Swifts, especially the Taylor Swifts of the world, like, really? You're not going to put your music on Spotify because you need the extra money? Like, really, Taylor Swift? You're struggling? Like,
Well, I've used
don't know.
Spotify to discover things that I haven't. When you use the radio feature, and that's been an opportunity for me to discover music.
right.
So I look at that as, especially, if you're a new artist and, you don't have the backing of the promotional machine,
Right.
of the giants there. I mean, you're going to want to be heard, and you're going to want to be heard in almost any platform you can get your music out.
Right.
So I think it's legit from that standpoint.
Yeah, at the same time, though, like if there was a giant musicians union, worldwide musicians union, it's ridiculous. We make the same amount of money or less for gigs in 2015 than I made in 1993, which was comparable to probably what people were making in 1978. I mean, it's crazy. So how do you end up making money? I mean, I understand people making a stand, and Prince is real big on not letting people film his shows and stuff like that. And for whatever reason it's a good I don't know. I kind of can get behind folks saying like, no, I got to get paid. Everybody else gets paid for their work.
Right.
What is Taylor Swift's? What is her exact beef with it? Is that she's not getting enough?
It's that
or-
the one quote, and I could be naive and wrong and completely have only read one part of the story, but I read a quote that was something along the lines of like, "This is her art form, and therefore she should feel compensated for such." And I was like, I get it, but people are already going to buy your albums because you're Taylor Swift. So
I think the issue is the pay scale and
Right.
the fractions and fractions of the cents that is, let's just quote unquote, earned every time there's a play of a song.
right.
Now, I think we've had music on there, and I should say, we've earned some pennies,
Yeah.
but
Couple.
but yeah, we've heard a couple. But
Wait. Did we? Are you?
Oh,
I didn't see any of
Holding-
this.
you're holding
Francis.
out.
The residual
Damn.
checks have yet to come in.
Francis, what are
Wait,
you doing with
wait,
these
why don't we
checks?
cut? We'll edit this out, and we'll talk later. But yeah, but from at least the level that we are dealing with and with our music, I mean, yeah, exposure is the priority in my view.
Right. Maybe that's what I should have prefaced with is
I mean, somebody like Taylor, who you
burgeoning
have,
artist.
yeah, you are going to have your music purchased by your legions of fans, on that level. Now, is it legit for her to? I mean, it's her music; she can do what she wants with it. That's fine. But I think most artists do want to be heard, and I mean, if you're not an established artist, you're gonna struggle unless you restrict yourselves, from the platforms that you put out there.
Right.
It's kind of still the same argument that like Metallica had back in the what was that website?
Napster.
Napster days.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing still,
Yeah.
right? It's like the same argument that people that they're not getting compensated, right? And
Well, one of
And
them
it's-
is compensated. Period. The other one
Well, that's
is
true.
compensated enough.
Right.
okay.
And that's. I think that could be a pretty hard.
So who
argument.
defines enough? Is
Right.
is
That's
that,
that was my whole soapbox was like Taylor Swift, you're already banking on the tours that you're making and the spot and the commercials and the Coke and the whatever else you're doing. And I think her purpose in doing it was probably to like stand up for the smaller artists or whatever. So maybe that has some legitimacy to it, but I don't know. In this day and age, for everything to be electronic on your phone, or that everyone using Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, for your stuff to not be available to everyone seems limiting to me as an artist.
But I would also, going back to, I think, just to answer your question simplistically, I would think who makes that decision? I think the artists make that decision.
What's enough for them?
What's enough for them? What's enough for you to accept? If you're an emerging artist, the goals are different. The objectives are different. The exposure is a priority. If you're somebody like Taylor Swift, I can only imagine, that, all right, it's not, I guess, relevant, or I should say comparable to the other forms of compensation she gets from other mediums.
But couldn't that backfire? Couldn't that be like, it would turn out that you are worth what people are willing to pay for it also? Because maybe there's a lot of people who aren't willing to pay full price for her, newest album, but they would definitely get it on.
I think someone did that. Someone put out a record, and they said, "Pay us what you think it's worth." And
I'm trying to remember the artist. From what I heard,
there have been a few.
Yeah,
but a very well-estabed band did that. From what I heard, and it's not like I personally did the research. I've kind of heard it, secondhand. I heard that didn't do too well.
Yeah.
No,
financially.
And that's the problem, is that because it's so readily available digitally, and as an art form, it's really the only art form currently, at least, I think, that you can really translate it easily. People aren't just going to buy a Xerox copy of a painting or take that and put it up in their home in their fancy gallery. But music, they do that. And that word exposure to me as a musician has become almost like a dirty word. Like, come play for free, but you'll get great exposure. Well, yeah, really? Well, you're making money off of it. So if you're making money off of it, then shouldn't the artist be compensated? And I'm not saying there shouldn't be venues where coffee shops and everything where you can go in and do open mics, those kind of things. But if you're bringing in professional musicians, man, pay them. You got to pay them.
It's tough out there.
I agree.
It's tough out there.
It is. So and so what becomes of it? Who's to say where the music industry is going to be around the corner?
We shall see.
What is the compensation anyway? Like what share of, because what is it, like $10 a month for the Spotify? Is there any other level? Because that's what I pay for it, like $10 a month.
No, I think premium is $10 a month.
That's it. So what is their share? Like, how does it work? Do you know?
I have no idea. I know that when it first started, I remember my guitar teacher was like, "You got to check this thing out. Everything's for free except for the Beatles aren't on it." And it's like they're giving a cent for every play or something like that. At first, it was like a small, like you were saying, pennies or something like that. But I thought
even a cent.
I thought it had gone up lately, but I could be wrong. I have no idea.
But even when, and I remember back in the day when they made actual CDs and you used to have to go to the record store and buy, the stuff, there was, even still, I think the artist still only made something like 7 cents per copy sold or something. It was a really small percentage of whatever was sold.
And you make some amount of royalties off terrestrial radio still, right? Off plays on terrestrial radio. I don't know what it is.
You do, but I think the big catch there is, well, how do you get on there? How do you get on terrestrial radio? That's kind of another level of struggle, I think.
Well, that was the old school, like payola.
That's another.
Would roll in and hook up DJs to play their music.
There's a book out there. I read this book. It's called Hitman. I don't know if you've. It talks all about payola. Talks about real. They give little stories and examples of what happened when, and they name names basically, and they talk about. It's interesting.
Wow, gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, but going back to what you're saying about the dirty word, exposure. It is a balance, though. I think, I agree with, the point I think you're trying to make, too, is that, we shouldn't just bow to this word and say, okay, a club owner says, hey, you want to play? We'll give you exposure. We're not going to pay you, but your payment is exposure. Yeah, I don't believe in that, and I don't buy into that part of it, especially you're going to bring in an audience. All right, you're going to bring in people who's going to purchase liquor or purchase drinks, perhaps pay a fee at the door. The artist should be compensated, for that. talking about online streaming, I think it's another. It's a little bit different to me because with the stroke of few keystrokes, they could pull your music up, or not,
Right.
or jump on to the next with the next. They could just go, all right, don't like this, moving on. It's a little bit more instant regarding the potential for exposure. But that's my little take.
Yeah. Good luck navigating States in this day and age. It seems a lot more difficult than, well, I don't know. It's just different. I guess it's just different. You're not waiting around for like the A&R guy to show up at your show and sign you to a
Never gonna happen.
giant deal. It's
That's
just,
done.
Those days are over.
If your brother's cousin's sister's friend knows the A&R guy, he might show up, but like most likely, probably not. If you have a lot of followers, maybe he'll show up.
I think I'm with you though. Alexa, I agree.
Success.
Somebody like Taylor Swift, I'm with you. You know, I mean, she just played how many gigs at Staples Center, like in a row? Wasn't there like 10 or 12 or something like that? Yeah,
something ridiculous.
like in a row. What is her, whatever album sold gonna do really for her? I mean, she doesn't really need the exposure. I mean, the reason people come to see her is for her music. So give them the music, they'll come and see you, whatever.
Well, I don't know. I don't fully agree with that, but because I'm still coming from the stance of, well, the artist decides.
Nobody asked you, Francis, by the way.
Yeah, true. You know what? I'm gonna get back to the mixing board here. You guys go ahead and talk. But it's like saying going outside of music, talking about professional athletes, talking about movie stars, TV stars. There's a part of it where I look at it as, okay, well, how much are they worth? How are they worth X amount of salary? And there's part of me that feels, well, you're worth what you can get.
Right, you're worth what people will pay for it.
Yes, if the studio feels that X amount of star is worth millions and millions of dollars per picture, then so be it.
Right.
I don't buy into the fact that you made too much or no. You make you're worth as much as you can earn. Same thing with the professional athletes. So, going back to, the artists, the musicians, you got to make what you can make, I think.
But I kind of wish that the more successful musicians, radio play musicians, would pull their stuff from Spotify, like all of them, and make it a forum for new music, undiscovered bands, and everything else. And
so you're kind of in line with Taylor then.
Then you know what you're going to get there. And then if you want to listen to mainstream, then you go. You have different options. But I would like to see that.
Isn't that what's the one that Jay-Z came up with? It's that Title. Weren't they gonna divvy out more money for certain things? Isn't that their thing? Like you pay a little bit, like there's a higher premium level or something like that, and they were gonna pay more for artists or something like that. I don't even know how that's caught on.
I just remember I read a Mumford and Sons, and I don't know if it was Marcus Mumford or who was talking about it, but they were saying, who cares? Like we make music and I don't really care where it goes after that. Like they were just, and there's two mentalities in this. You have to be business headed and business minded. And you have to, if you want to sustain a career and make your money off of being a successful or semi-successful musician and pay your bills, then yes, you have to think about where's that next paycheck coming from. But in the same token, it's like, there's a whole other side. I always used to joke about people that would say like, oh, I just do this for fun. I'm like, if you did it for fun, you would just sit in your room and play. Like you wouldn't be out in a bar on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock playing for people. So it's like, there probably are a lot of people that are just playing for keeps, but I think there's somewhere in the middle. Like I'm somewhere in the middle and maybe that's because I'm a new artist and just starting out. So I will take the exposure and I will hope that someone will show up and take notice or, I need to be as visible as possible because anything in this technologically advanced world where it's like you look at your phone and you can look up, like remember when you used to be like, wait, what was that actor's name? And it would take you like 7 days later you call your friend and be like, oh my god, I remember. Like
2 o'clock in the morning you wake up and that's when you realize it.
Yeah, and now you're like, Google, hold on one second.
IMDb.
Yeah, you have the IMDb app. Like it's such instant gratification for me that I feel like people won't even if you say I'm not putting my music on there, they're like, fine, then we're not listening to it. Jay-Z put his, let's listen to Jay-Z's song. Like, no one wants to do any work anymore. So you got to kind of like give him the leg work, do a little bit for him. Hey,
I've seen that.
you know?
I've actually
And I
seen
will
that.
say, like, I was in a bar last night and I'm a musician, and this guy goes, let me pull you up, goes on his iTunes and bought both of my albums. So there are people that still purchase records, and then there are people that are like, I'm going to test it out first and see what I think about it. So,
And I really think you have to be business minded. I mean, if we're going to do what we do, I mean, especially as artists who, I think, I mean, for me, it's the passion,
mm-hmm.
you know, and that drives it, that sustains us. You know,
Right.
the love of what we do is, you know, is the bottom line here. But, you know, if you have the opportunity to do what you love for a career, you have to have that business side, that
mm-hmm.
mentality. It can't just be, I just do it for the passion. All right, but I'll talk to you guys later because I got to go to my day job.
Right.
Or, you know, I mean, why not pursue it if you can do it? Yeah.
I don't know.
Chris is very against us right now.
It's the never end. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not against it because I've done a million things for free to go and play in front of people. But I also, you know, on the flip side of that, I also know, you know, how much anybody's getting paid has not kept up with inflation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Whether it be working stiffs on the weekend or dudes in the studio or people on tour, and you know, I don't. Maybe touring, but you know, definitely with album sales and all that, it's not kept up.
There are different ways to make money too. I mean, placements.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know we're talking. There's a lot of avenues that you can get paid in the music industry. What's going to be sustaining? I mean, you know, isn't that the big question, to find your path? But people are doing it.
Getting music in like a commercial or something like that. That's a good way.
Yeah,
Like-
that's what I mean.
like-
Either commercials, TVs, shows,
Yeah.
movies.
Like Barry Manilow, like how much he's made over the years. He wrote all those famous jingles and all those commercials. Did you know about that?
Do you know that Justin Timberlake wrote "Ba-da-ba-ba-ba"?
Did he really?
I'm loving it. And like when you listen to
No.
it, you're
Yeah.
like, oh my god, that totally is a
Justin Timberlake.
Justin
yeah.
Timberlake riff. You're like, I get it.
Yeah, and that apparently is a very, very lucrative way of going about it.
Mhm.
You know, writing all those commercial jingles and stuff like just a 5-second little thing, and there you go.
But imagine you can almost then never recreate like the magic that was the Beatles, because the Beatles would not allow their song to be their music to be used in commercials or merchandise.
Till Michael Jackson came along.
Yeah, exactly. They stopped touring completely.
Yeah.
You know, so they would have never made money in today's world, you know, because they didn't do any of the things that sustain musicians now. They didn't have sponsorships. They didn't put their music in movies and television commercials, etc. And they didn't tour.
But it is the flip side of what we're talking about. I mean, the industry has really done a 180 because people make the money on tours, and record sales have, you know, been in a slump.
Right.
So, you
It's
know,
just
it's a
different
different
times.
era.
I like
Yeah.
that, Chris, you know, you're standing up for the musician. I respect that 100%. I do think, yes, there are, like you're saying, studio guys or session people that need to be paid for this work that they're doing 100%. But it's more about like the change of the times and thinking about like, wow, we've really, look how far we've come, and that records aren't even, who even has a record
Well,
anymore.
I think of it like this too. I think of a guy like John Mayer, who, whatever you think about John Mayer, I think he's a pretty
Be
talented.
I
still
think
my heart.
I think he's cool.
I think he's a pretty talented dude, but I get the feeling like that his commercial music, like he made to make money and have an opportunity to play the music that he really likes, and then to be able to go on tour with. The
Well,
Grateful
doesn't
Dead and
everyone
stuff like
do that? You know, Pink.
I don't. Yeah, I
And
think they do now, but I don't
artists-
think they used to. And I go look at the time and energy spent doing something in art that you're not really that into, but is going to be commercially successful, versus artists that just got to do whatever they dug and could make a living doing it. It's just harder and harder to do that.
Well, I think that that's where like the business versus the passion comes into play. There are some people there that are very adamant about, this is my music, this is how I want to put it out into the world, this is the only avenue, venue, the only way you're going to get it. And then there are the people like, I'm going to play the game so that I can do whatever I want, and sorry, I'm going to just do that because I don't really, it's like, are we questioning people's morals at this point, or is it just different strokes for different folks? Like, it's all about, personal preference, I think.
I think it's the full spectrum of it.
Yeah.
And because there are people who are fortunate enough to put out their art as they hear it, as regardless of any other opinion, and it hits strikes a nerve with the public. They sell records, they have a successful tour, but then there are other people who are maybe in between, maybe like, I have to do some jingles here on the side. Okay, maybe I have my original songs here that will do okay, and maybe it's a balance of both. And so I think it's everybody in between, But people are doing it, so it's like, you have to try for something.
Right.
It's kind of like having that Shakespearean actor who was like classically trained on stage and then goes and does some, cheap action movie and makes a lot of money on it, but nobody really knows how talented they are, but they do that because they got to get that's what they know how to do. They know how to act, and you got to get the pay somehow.
I think what's the Silence of the Lambs guy? Anthony
Hopkins.
I think I heard an interview of him saying something like, it's the greatest job in the world. I show up, they feed me, memorize a few lines.
That's what I was going to say. Like, don't you think, when you were talking about athletes, don't you think there are times when professional athletes are working or not getting paid, or an actor or an athlete has to maintain their body even when they're off season or off of film. So it's almost like an artist, and I don't know, maybe I'm stretching this, but like if I'm putting out my music, maybe that's my sacrifice, and where they're sacrificing their time and their bodies or whatever it is, I'm saying, okay, this is one thing that I have to kind of give leeway on so that I can make money touring or whatever.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of misconception when people hit the scene, when they talk about, you are overnight success. Well, hold on, time out. What about the hours and hours of practice in the bedroom, learning the instrument,
True.
Honing, the nuances of your voice, doing your creative aspects of it. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that I don't think everybody, especially musicians, get a lot of credit for. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I think it does get devalued, especially from, perhaps a club owner's perspective. And, hey, you should be glad you're on stage. Glad I'm giving you a stage. But
The crappy thing about club owners also sometimes is when you do fight for that pay and they agree to give you something, they can always find a way to stiff you on a little bit of the top end too. Oh, you didn't play till 1:30 in the morning. You only played till 1:15. You missed. We're not going to pay you the full amount. Or, we didn't do so well tonight at the door. So sorry. They'll find a way sometimes.
Right.
And it just
And I get the business side of it for a club owner where they have to make money. Get it?
Of course,
it's they're not doing it for this altruistic artistic thing, but at the same time, if you can make money by having live music, then people ought to be getting paid. People ought to be getting paid for it.
Here.
Woo! Debates.
Boom.
This is like the GOP.
I mean, I don't know. Do DJs come in and spin for free for exposure?
I doubt it.
No.
I
That's
doubt
true.
it.
That's a good point.
I highly doubt it, actually.
People ain't going to Cordon Bleu down the road here and then going to cook for exposure, right? They're getting paid to make a cool dish. And
do you know any DJs? Anybody? We got to get a DJ.
Yeah.
No, but the DJ last night, we're at this place. I was dancing, but then you're playing Beyonce, and I don't know. We could talk about DJs another time.
I know a couple DJs, so I can see if
we got to get a DJ in here.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a DJ in here. A DJ who actually DJs as
I was going to say, that's a wide spectrum that we're talking about.
Play on the iPod
right.
or like...
Yeah.
Well, there's a term. They're what do they call it? Turntablists.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that is now, that's now what we always thought was a DJ.
Right. Well, it was using the turntables as an instrument. It really was an instrument. It was their, the way they would crossfade and spin the backspin and all that kind of stuff. It's an art. That is totally an art form and an instrument.
No doubt.
Rather than just even matching beats or whatever, or pushing play, or that's.
Have you guys
totally
seen?
different thing.
I think it's on YouTube. I'm sure about the models because model DJs are a thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
I haven't seen.
Model DJ.
Yeah, there's a model. She looks really good. She has a DJ setup, and I remember seeing one of those where I think they had an overhead camera, and they were basically tearing her apart because they had a track, right? It was a pre-recorded track, and she was like going through the motions of turning knobs and doing things, but it really wasn't affecting the sound or anything. But she was doing the headphone thing and the faders up and down and a couple of clicks. And then,
it was just for show. It wasn't even plugged in, probably.
But it's funny because you'd see the comment. It's on YouTube. I'm sure you guys can find it. But I thought it was pretty funny how, that is a thing. Yeah.
Well, DJs really have taken over as far as, the thing for people to go see, rather than the live music scene. Look at the stuff, even when you're talking about the EDM music and all the EDM clubs, like places like in Vegas and stuff like that.
Oh, the festivals.
All those, well, even just the clubs. I mean, all those old, if you're talking about Vegas, there was so many places where you could see live music. It's all kind of DJ stuff now and EDM, and then there's the huge festival, and that's the way that everything has kind of gone, and we're kind of left out here. So back to your point about DJs, are they getting paid? I'm sure they're all getting paid because they're all bringing lots of people. That's what people are going to see.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in the people. So.
Yeah, like a Vegas scene, like music is now, live music is in like the lounge.
Yeah.
The lounge area.
It's like a retro lounge too.
Yeah, it's not like where the
throwback.
young folks are going to.
And I've heard the number of some of these DJs getting paid in Vegas. Serious money.
Yeah.
Serious.
Like
That's it, guys. I gotta go get my turntable.
Yeah.
Now.
Who wants to trade a guitar?
Do you think it's easier to carry turntables than a guitar and an amp? Probably. Let's switch
I
it
think
up.
now. I mean, I know
all
the big old.
now.
Yeah. Now,
Come on, just have your MacBook.
Yeah.
That's
all you
true.
need
That's
your
true. Yeah,
MacBook.
and a couple of little, little
Couple of
samplers
Maybe
or
a
something.
pad.
Yeah, a little
Just for
sampler
show.
pad, something like that.
That's not plugged in. But any case.
I had something to talk about. I think I'll wait for the next one though. If we do another episode soon, I have something. I think it'll get into a discussion that'll be quite long also. But I'm gonna wait.
All right, that's enough blabbering for one episode. So what's happening? TuneUpandJam.com.
TuneUpandJam.com. We are on Facebook, Tune Up and Jam. We are at email at TuneUpandJam.com. Twitter. What's our Twitter feed? Tune Up and Jam.
I think so.
Yeah, Tune Up and Jam.
I would guess it's not like Bill or Roy or Steve, right? Yeah, something
No.
like that.
Tune Up and Jam would make sense.
Tune Up and Jam would make sense.
Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't
it? It would. So, that was a fun, just kind of like little chat. Thankfully, we have Alexa on here to carry us because I wouldn't know what to do. I'm out of information.
Yeah, Alexa.
I'm having one of these days. I'm just kind of like just watching it go on.
Alexa has her own Twitter feed as well, right?
Yes,
and
Alexa Merrill, Merrill, and also www.alexamerrill.com.
Awesome.
My music is on Spotify and all the other outlets.
You're not taking it down yet, right?
After this episode, I'm considering it. I'm just,
once you play like 8 nights at the Staples Center,
Yeah,
then
you
can decide, I'm taking my music down.
Guys,
I'm not getting I'm not
really.
Yeah, ads going on Craigslist looking for trading instruments for turntables. So. All right, everybody. Catch you later.
Out.